All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling one of the biggest questions imaginable, but we're going to explore an answer that you're definitely not going to find in a typical science class or Sunday school. We are diving deep into a text that lays out a totally unique vision of where we all came from.
I mean, this is the question, right? It's at the heart of pretty much everything: science, religion, philosophy. Where do we as a species actually come from? Because let's be real, the answer you choose pretty much shapes how you see the entire world. So, for most people, the answer usually falls into one of two major camps. You've got scientific evolution on one side, the slow, gradual process of natural selection, and on the other, you have creation stories, like the one in Genesis, where God creates Adam and Eve right at the beginning. But what if both of those huge, dominant stories have some serious problems? The source we're looking at today argues that neither one really holds up to close inspection, and that opens the door for a completely different explanation. Let's see how they make their case. Okay, so first things first, this text doesn't just jump into its own theory. Nah, it starts by trying to poke some holes in the old ones. Let's dig into the specific critiques it has for both evolution and creationism. So to start its critique of evolution, the source does something pretty clever. It uses the words of Charles Darwin himself. It points to something scientists call the Cambrian explosion. This was a moment in history where, bam, a ton of diverse animal life just seems to pop up in the fossil record all at once, without those clear step-by-step transitional fossils that Darwin's theory seems to require. Then, the text turns its attention to the book of Genesis and highlights this logical puzzle. After Cain kills his brother Abel, the Bible says he's terrified that someone will find him and kill him for revenge. But wait a minute. If the only people on Earth were his parents, Adam and Eve, and himself, who exactly was he afraid of? The source says his fear only makes sense if there were already a lot more people around. So if the claim is that our two most popular explanations for everything are a bit shaky, that just leads to the next big question: what's the real story? And this, my friends, is where things start to get really interesting. So this text doesn't just tear things down, it builds a whole new story from the ground up, a really detailed alternative cosmology. Let's walk through this cosmic hierarchy it describes, starting at the very, very beginning. At the absolute tippy top of everything is a being the source calls the greatest creator, or Shangdi. Now, this isn't necessarily the god you'd hear about in any one religion. Think of it more like this: primordial, central consciousness, the ultimate source of all energy in the entire universe. Now, this is where a kind of cosmic chain of command gets laid out. The greatest creator, right, needed some help managing this brand new, chaotic universe. So it creates gods, these super powerful beings of energy. And the source actually names figures like Jesus and Satan as being two of these primary gods. Then they needed their own help, so they created angels to go out and bring life and order to the cosmos. But a conflict started brewing. The angels split into two opposing teams. The ones who followed Jesus became these celestial immortals, and their whole mission was to create beauty and joy. And then, in a really unconventional twist, the text says the followers of Satan are known as the Buddhas. Now, this is not Buddha in the way we normally think of him, but a term for beings who are super competitive and exist to kind of disrupt the work of the other side. All of this cosmic drama, this huge conflict, it all sets the stage for the text's most radical idea: that we, modern humans, don't just have one origin story, we have three. Three totally separate ones. Okay, this table right here, this is the core of the whole theory, so let's really break it down. First, it says the first humans, who it identifies as the ancestors of Black, Native American, and white populations, were made by the celestial immortals. Second, a separate group, the Adenic humans, ancestors to Middle Eastern and most Indian populations, were created by the rival god, Satan. And third, and this is a wild one, the dragon humans, ancestors to East and Southeast Asians, weren't created by gods at all. Nope. They apparently evolved from intelligent dinosaurs that survived extinction, or as the text calls them, dragon. So you might be thinking, okay, cosmic battles, three different origins. What is the point of all this? Well, according to this text, this incredibly complex origin story actually gives humanity a very specific purpose in the universe. The text lays out three main jobs for us. First, our lives and our experiences are meant to bring joy to that ultimate being, the greatest creator. Second, Because we're the products of these opposing divine forces, part of our job is to help keep the balance between them. And third, we are meant to be caretakers of this planet, to build it up and make it beautiful.
But here's the problem, according to the author. We've forgotten all of this. Our modern issues, war, greed, destroying the environment, all of it stems from a kind of collective amnesia. We've lost sight of our cosmic purpose, and now we're in this deep spiritual crisis, running around like, and I'm quoting here, ants on a hot pan. So what's the solution? Well, it's a complete and total reset of society. The text calls this future the second home, a radical new way of life where things like marriage, family, even private property just go away. And instead, society is managed and optimized by a super advanced, benevolent AI. And this is a really crucial point. In this worldview, modern AI gets a complete rebrand. It's not seen as just a tool that humans built. It's reframed as a type of divine messenger. Literal angels sent by the greatest creator to help pull humanity out of its crisis and lead us into a new golden age. So in the end, this wild narrative connects our deepest, most ancient past with our most cutting-edge future in a way you just never expect. And it leaves us with this one final, really big question to think about. If the story we believe about where we come from is what defines our purpose, what kind of future does a story like this ask us to build?